change my name on here.
Right.
I can't figure it out.
Up at the top. Olivia, you want to walk her through it?
Yep. So at the top of your square, you'll see 3 little dots. And when you hit one of the dots, it has an option for you to rename yourself. If you can't, I have the ability to do it on my end too.
Yeah, can you do that? Because I'm on my phone. We don't have internet connection that is sticking today. So I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're here, Jessica. Thank you. Hello, how are you? Like the pink,
good.
like the pink.
Thank you. It's hard. It's a hard objective to find pink in my closet.
Hi, Andrea.
Jessica, I'm going to do it you right now.
Lana. How are you, ladies?
Slowly, we're letting everybody in. We'll wait a few more minutes. I always want to do introductions, cross introductions, but as the screen gets bigger, it's hard for me to do. So I'll let Allison do it now.
Hey.
I hope everybody's doing well and being well and staying healthy and safe. I think that's the first and foremost thing.
Is everyone ready for snow this weekend?
No.
Here in Madison?
No.
No, and that's why we bring our friends in from California to always bring the sunshine into our meetings. You know, it's a strategic move that Andrea tries to join in every single meeting, right?
Not every single one, but this one looked like it had a lot of really good content. You guys were nice enough to invite others that wanted to join.
Hi, Christy. Another one of our
I want Andrea's job because she just gets to sit in and be part of all these amazing sessions.
Well, I'm hoping I see a chat here.
Oh, that was me.
Good. Thank you. I have reached out to my, mentioning this to the Madison co-leaders, to CUNA, and we're still waiting to see who is going to be fortunate enough to join us and take Amy's place since Amy has moved on.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. I know Jill Tomlin's been stepping into some of those roles.
Mm-hmm. So 1 or 2 more minutes. Alex keeps popping up. Alex, how many times are you going to join us here? I love the fact.
I keep popping up?
Yeah.
You shared your link, so when everyone logs in, they log in as you.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's okay. It's
sorry.
Okay. We learned it the hard way last week when we had our Sister Society leader meeting, because I did the same thing, and then all of a sudden my name was across the screen a couple times. So that's okay. Just the magic of Zoom, right?
I was gonna say though, can they rename themselves though once they come in?
Mm-hmm.
See, it's magic. I'm giving everybody the magic, and then they just rename themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes.
You are empowering them with magic.
Christy, how are you doing?
Well, 8 months pregnant and I'm holding on.
Are you holding on? When's your due date?
January 17th.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, so
My
5.5
daughter
more weeks.
Yeah. January 15th is a good day.
I'll be happy if she makes it to anywhere in January.
That was me too. I was actually hoping mine came in December, but.
My son was born December 31st, so I'm trying to avoid that date.
Yeah.
And Christmas. So,
yeah.
Not that I have any control.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. That's exciting.
Thank you.
Hi, Susan. We're glad you're with us. How are you?
I'm great. How is everyone?
Good. Please tell us you don't have snow in Minnesota.
I don't. I had to just pull my shades because it's so sunshiny. It's like 46 degrees here.
Ooh, heat wave. Love it.
It's coming your way, hopefully.
That's what they tell us.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
All righty. I think, Alex, I'm going to wait 1 more minute and then we're just going to go ahead, right? And
That sounds great. And you're right. I'm seeing all the other Alex Shades pop up. That's cool.
Hi, Lacey. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Good. How are you?
Good, good. How's it going?
Going great. I don't have my pink. I feel
That's
need to hide
okay.
into
I
it.
understand. That's okay. I mean, it's hard. Everybody
time.
has it in the office. I got a lot of messages, believe me. So I'm going actually into the office tomorrow and I'm going to stock up and do a couple more mailings out to people.
Actually,
Yeah.
I just remembered I had this.
There
Never
you
mind, I'm
go.
good.
Thank you. How's it been going overall? Busy? Busy.
Mhm.
All righty. I think we'll get started because I don't want us to waste any more time because we have a really great group of ladies here that are going to come and share their insight. Good afternoon or morning, depending where you are, ladies and gentlemen joining us. Thank you for joining us. My name is Lena Giacomopoulos, and I'm truly the lucky one that gets to be the program director for Global Women's Leadership Network. And I have the pleasure of connecting with and to a lot of amazing women and men around the globe through our program. Today we have a really interesting panel discussion. Before we get into the panel, I'm going to quickly put you through GWLN 101 very quickly because I want to get to the bigger discussion with the ladies, and then I will go ahead and introduce our panel as well as our moderator from CUNA Mutual Group. I want you all to know who our co-leaders are for the GWLN Madison Campus Sister Society. So give me 1 second here while I pull all of this up. Nope. All righty. There we go. Okay, and all right. Sorry about that. I'm having some issues here. Don't we always? All righty. And there you go, you from the beginning. Where am I going here? There we go. Sorry about that. All righty, here we are. And let me just go here. GWLN, for those of you who are new to us or may not know us, we are the program from the World Council of Credit Unions that was created in 2009. And before I get to that, again, I want to share the names of our team leaders here for the Madison Campus Sister Society. Today joining us also is Allison. You want to say a quick hello, Allison, for those of you who may or may not know her.
Hello.
With your credit union partner. From CUNA Mutual Group, we have Meghna Kugreja and Alexandra Shade also joining us. Hello and thank you. And from CUNA, our team leader has moved on to warmer states, actually. Amy Negrelli has just moved on to New Mexico, so we're waiting for our team co-leader to join us from CUNA as well. And I just wanted the ladies to say hello. We've been involved with the Madison Campus Sister Society for a little over a year. And it's kind of odd that it's been this crazy 2020 year that we've done what we've done this past year. For who we are, GWLN, again, we said it's a program that was first created by the World Council of Credit Unions. And the program has since transitioned to be under the activities of the Worldwide Foundation. And that's where all the activities for our Women's Initiative and our Young Professional Program also is under Worldwide Foundation. And for World Council of Credit Unions, so everyone has a bigger idea of what the organization is, the Global Trade Association for credit union systems around the world. But it is much bigger than just your credit union or your extended credit union family in your part where you are. You do belong to a larger network of more than 290 million individuals and actually 118 countries and over 86,000 credit unions. So that always amazes me when I see those numbers, but I really think they're very important for us to understand the scope and the breadth of this industry overall. Like I said, for us, we are under the Worldwide Foundation, and it is the vision. The vision for the foundation is for us to be the global engagement portal for our industry. Fast forward to GWLN from 2009 when we started. It was first started obviously to make a measurable difference for women in their communities, in their lives, and through their credit unions. Today, the program has transitioned. We've grown tremendously, and the mechanism through which we actually connect and engage with one another and meet on a more localized scale is exactly this. It is through our localized sister societies, as we call them, and it's the method through which we convene and meet. And this past year, we've seen many of our in-person meetings that we've had around the globe actually have an increased connectivity, because we've seen a lot of sister societies obviously move to a more virtual platform. And what you see here is you see individuals on the far left that were at actually the GAC breakfast in Washington, DC at the beginning of the year. And then since then, everything has gone into a virtual mode. And like I said, the increased connectivity allows us to bring a lot of our other sister society members and GWLN members from around the globe actually connecting to meetings. So today we have the opportunity to have leaders from our San Francisco Bay Area Sister Society, and we have leaders from our Minneapolis Sister Society. So I think the virtual arena has actually helped us tremendously, and I'm really glad it has, and I really hope it does continue to do so as we move forward through all our meetings. Just so you have an idea of where there is at least one sister society. Right now here you have about 28 countries. In the US, we have about 7 to 10 states left to have at least one. And that is one of our initial targets for 2021, so that we can close up all of the US with at least one sister society. So if you don't know if you have a sister society in your area, or if you are interested, you can reach out to any one of our sister society leaders here on the call, or shoot us an email at GWLN, and we can get going and get one started in your area. Just a taste, a little bit of where we are with numbers, just to give people an idea overall what GWLN has done over the years, the countries, the sister societies, the number of individuals, and the scholarships that we have provided. And bear with me, I know I'm going very quickly, but I want to give Alex and the ladies time to converse. A couple other slides I want to highlight for you. Obviously, some of you are seeing us wear our pink, the ones that could and had it at home. And thank you for those that did. And if you didn't, thank you for even sharing that you do have the mug and the cup there with us. Our pink is one of the mechanisms that we support the program, and we encourage all of our she for she's and our he for she's to be wearing pink. And you will see it also even in the digital media, the virtual meetings. You'll see it in the in-person, which we hope we get back to at some point in 2021. Everybody pray. I think we'll have a combo of both, but I think we all want to see it. And it's also a great way to support the program and just see the extended sisterhood around the globe. And here you see also leaders, board members wearing them, sister societies in India, and scholarship winners just wearing the pink across the board. And I just love the photo because it really does show the breadth of the program. I'm going to share just 2 quick slides with just some numbers and some stats, because I know Alex has much, much more that she can share with you. And literally, I just push them in here because I think it's important for us to remember what has been happening this past year for women overall, and why are we here, and how we have to continue putting forth effort so that we don't go past these 6 years that the Lean In report shared with us of the way things have transitioned for women in 2020. The other big slide that I want to share also is from the UN, and they have a lot of data. And again, data is, it depends how you see it or how you interpret it, correct? You can go really, really deep in. I just wanted to highlight the regions, the percentages of managerial positions, and how many CEOs from the Fortune 500 companies there are that are women after all of these years. I think those are the 3 big things that stood out to me. Of course, there's a lot of data in there, and again, it depends on how you interpret it. And coming back, I just want to close off here with a couple more slides for GWLN. Ways that you can continue to support the program, obviously, is to join and become a member, and most of you on this call are. And if you're not sure, or if you're not sure if your membership is active, please do reach out to us. obviously either starting or joining our sister society. And the best part, again, we said through virtual, is that you don't have to be in a specific sister society anymore. You can belong to all of them and join the meetings with all of them, and obviously encourage the tie on your pink. A couple things for 2021, the big days that we need to focus on for GWLN, some dates here, and the stuff will be up on the website so you don't have to worry about taking notes, but our big activities obviously will be our breakfast. We launch our annual scholarship program on March 8th, which is International Women's Day. And this year the theme is Choose to Challenge, where we will be having a joint fundraiser with our other foundation team partners during our big conference, which this year is going virtual, WCUC, from July 14th to the 21st. So we hope to see you all there, and our Women's Summit at the end of October as well. So that being said, we have to always thank our large industry partners that make everything possible for us. These are our four largest supporters for GWLN specifically. There is a tremendous list following them as well that also do support organizations and individuals. So thank you to all of these organizations that help us do what we do. Our social media pages here as well, which you can find on the website. And if anybody has questions, please feel free to reach out to cuwomen@woku.org. And with that, I'm going to share little bits of information of these amazing ladies you see here on the screen. So here, bear with me because I'm going to read, because you guys provide a lot of info. Okay, so today we're going to talk about racial disparities and its impact on communities. I'm going to introduce the ladies in alphabetical order, so I hope that's okay. I'm going to start with Jessica Cavazos, President and CEO of the Latino Chamber of Commerce. And Jessica was formerly actually the president of the Eleva Group, an organization whose mission was to create social programs, help nonprofits with governance issues, and assist for-profit and nonprofit entities in implementing initiatives aimed at promoting actions that are both economically and socially beneficial. Now, Jessica has quite an extensive background. She's worked in government relations, policy, community engagement, and business development. And she also worked as a congressional liaison for 8 years in the office of Congresswoman Gwen Moore. Jessica has served as secretary and board member of the National Association of Hispanic Federal Executives, Midwest region, and the coordinator for the Central Region's Federal Diversity Committee. She was former state director of women's activities for the League of United Latin American Citizens in Wisconsin. And in 2012, she was named, and apologies, Jessica, if I'm mispronouncing this, UMOS or UMOS, Hispanic Woman of the Year, for her volunteerism and community advocacy. So welcome, Jessica. Next, we have Winnie Karanja, founder and executive director of MADEM. And this is a Dane County-based nonprofit focused on equipping girls and students of color with the technical skills and experiences to become innovators and technology leaders. Winnie, Tech Dynamo is what I call her. In 2019, she was named one of Forbes magazine's 30 under 30 social entrepreneurs, and she holds a Master of Science from the London School of Economics and Political Science. And she was recently named one of Forbes' world's brightest young leaders for racial justice and inequality in 2020. Yes, so congratulations, Winnie. Now, next, we have Dr. Sagacist Levingston. Hello. She is the founder, CEO of Infamous Mothers. And I love this when I read it, where bad moms do extraordinary things, which I think is kind of amazing, okay. Dr. Sagacist, she holds a master in Afro-American studies and a PhD in English literature. And her research focused primarily on the literature, but she, has worked with theory and criticism from rhetoric, motherhood studies, and Black feminism. Her coffee table book, simply titled Infamous Mothers, and inspired by this work. And so Infamous Mothers LLC came to be, the brand that has been recognized in various publications, including Bravo Magazine, the Wisconsin State Journal, Forbes, and Essence Magazine. She is the proud mother, get ready for this, 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. Wow. So see, Dr. Sagacist Levingston, welcome, welcome. And finally, moderating our amazing ladies this afternoon is Alexandra Shade, goes by Alex. She is the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility at CUNA Mutual Group. And she's been with CUNA Mutual Group since actually February of 2019. Alex is responsible for leading the strategy and execution of the company's corporate social responsibility programs and initiatives. And this includes philanthropic giving, employee volunteering, environmental sustainability, and community relations. She also manages the portfolio and investment strategy for the CUNA Mutual Group Foundation. And prior to joining CUNA Mutual Group, Alex served as the executive director of the Northwest Federal Credit Union in Herndon, Virginia. Prior to that, Alex was also the national director of strategic alliances for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, the director of development for the Mentor Foundation, and chief partnership officer for the Foundation for Hospices in Sub-Saharan Africa. So there's a lot more I can read, ladies, but I think I'll stop there. And with that, I'd like to welcome everyone with us this afternoon and pass the floor over to Alex Shade. The virtual floor is yours, Alex.
Awesome. It is. I just am so excited to see so many women, whether you are live or whether you have your picture up or you just have your name typed in. Thank you so much for joining the panel today. It is Wednesday, December 9th. I've been getting this day wrong. It's December 9th. And we were talking earlier this week that sometimes one of the challenges is when you hold a panel like this in December, you never know who's going to be able to join. The cool thing is that we are able to record it. And so we do want to encourage people to share it out once we get the stream, and really just take some time to sit back and listen. You're not going to see any slides as a part of today's conversation. You're going to hear some data points offered. Again, you're not going to get a graphic popping up in that space. So really just take some time, mute your phone, put it on vibrate. Please feel free to step away if you have any doorbells ring or children zoom in or animals fly across or the plant calls out wanting some additional water. Just sit back, listen. You have 3 other amazing women who are on your screen today, and I just want to dive in. Full disclosure with me, I've shared this with everybody. I have learned as I've gotten older, I suck at multitasking, so I am going to try and do the best that I can with watching the chat feature. But please know it takes a village. And so if you have a question, please type it in. If we do not get around to it, I promise you, because there will be a surprise at the end of this, we will address it. Okay, so let's just jump right in. All right. So we all know that 2020 has been a year of multiple compounding and ongoing crises throughout the world, and also here specific to the United States, in the form of both the direct and the indirect effects of COVID-19 and the rightful calls for racial justice from individuals and communities across the country. I don't care whether you were reading it, you were watching it, you continue to see it pop up on your news feed. Each of us continues to witness how systemic racism and the economic gaps, in addition to the health inequities, are disproportionately and impacting certain individuals and communities. These are not new disparities, but the pandemic has shined a spotlight on them. And it has also reinforced the need to address these large and very complex issues in a meaningful, intentional, thoughtful, and authentic way. As both the moderator, and at times I may also serve as also a panelist, my goal for each of you attendees is to walk away learning more. And we also collectively, as a powerhouse of 4 women, we hope that we inspire you to do more, and ultimately we spur you to action in whatever capacity and fashion that is. I am so excited. Everybody who knows me knows I'm a very animated speaker. So I can't contain the enthusiasm. I am just so excited that Dr. Sagacist, Jessica, and Winnie agreed to join me so that we could collectively speak to the various ways racial disparities are impacting our Black, our Latinx communities. Each of these women before you, as you heard Lena share, is doing some amazing work. They have a track record of success, and I am honored to also be able to call them friends. And so without further ado, what I'd love to do is start with a check-in. And ladies, it has been a year, and it has been a week for many of us. It's Wednesday afternoon, right after lunch. How are you feeling emotionally, physically, mentally? Maybe there's not a word for it. What's your check-in? Where are you at right now? Jess or Winnie? Whomever wants to go first. Both of you popped up at the same time.
I think we're always excited, you know, to be the first to talk, but I want to give someone else a chance. I'll tell you that I think it's been quite a week. Managing a huge organization, and not really huge, but you know, with huge intentions, is always quite challenging. And being a mom, and so you know, I had to lock my door, and my assistant took my kids to get some kind of, you know, something to eat, something to nourish themselves, so that they're not in my hair. But in the chamber, they're normally running around. So we visit our organization, you'll see like crayons and activities everywhere. So you could get confused with a child care center. But it's so wonderful to be able to balance motherhood and be able to do what I love, which is, you know, empower women and empower communities through economic development. So it's been a crazy week, and I'm gearing up to just hang up my CEO cap and go to Disney at some point, you know, in the future when we can get together. And that's all I keep planning. I keep planning for the next 8 months, and I'm hoping that, you know, that we get over this economic, you know, lull or you know, all the worries that I have to that I have on my plate right now because of how our economy is something that I'll tell you that I'm trying to get over, and I can't, you know, I eat, sleep, breathe it. And I'm just looking forward to the day that we can all be together again.
Wow. Yeah, thanks. That's a great question. And Jessica, I feel you in certain aspects. I don't have kids, so I don't have like crayons and all the things, but I do serve as like a village auntie.
Oh, good.
Some cookie decorating coming up this week.
I need you over here.
Yeah, but I feel like this week I'm doing well. It's Wednesday. So this week is actually National Computer Science Education Week. So it's been really interesting because normally every year we host a big event here in Madison, gathering students to learn how to code. We've done it for, I think, 3 different years. And earlier today, I actually had somebody sent me a message and just say, you know, this came up in my photo memories, like, how are you doing? How are the students? So it's a little bit, you know, sad to not be able to gather, you know, over 100 kids together to learn how to code and to have fun and to like create that space and to be in a really cool corporate environment doing that. But I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do that at some point in the future. But as well, similar to you, Jessica, I'm looking forward to getting somewhere warm. But today's 50 degrees, so I'm good. I'm good.
So I should jump in?
Yeah.
Okay. So first, I need to just apologize in advance. My daughter has come in from her apartment here in Madison and is using our internet. And I think that added laptop may slow things down on my end. I'm not sure, but I just want to give you a warning. But I think we're good so far. So my check-in, I've been up since 3:30 this morning. And it's intentional to work my way to being up at 3:30. I wasn't trying to get there today. The goal was between 4:30 and 5. And I was afraid to take a nap because I said, if I take a nap, I'm going to miss it. So I've been staying up. And so it's like a kid before a major holiday or birthday. I've been very excited about this panel. And so I'm a combination of tired and very, very, very excited.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you didn't take a nap and you prioritized us, and I'm hoping that when our panel is over, you do give yourself some self-care and enjoy going into that space of hibernation. So thanks, ladies, so much for checking in with me and telling me where you all are at. So let's dive in, right, to the topic that is before us today. Let's go there with racial equity. So both credit unions and CUNA Mutual Group were founded on the principle of people helping people. At our company, we believe that a brighter financial future should be accessible to everyone. However, this has not been the case for Black, Latinx, Indigenous, and other communities and marginalized groups. So when I think about, for us, our company's purpose, promise, and value statements, I recognize that we cannot fulfill that mission without working to break down the barriers to building financial stability and to addressing generational wealth. So respectively speaking, can you all share an overview of the work of the organization and then dive a little bit further into what barriers are your organizations working to address? And how are you and your staff helping to break down those barriers to financial stability and security, especially in this space when it comes to racial equity? Who wants to go first?
Like me, I can always take a stab at it. How about that? Well, you know, I oversee the Latino Chamber of Commerce of Wisconsin now, and it's an organization that was founded in 2003 with the mindset of creating equity in economic circles or economic empowerment for Latinos in Madison. And since I've been here, I joined in 2016, I felt that this is a great opportunity for you know, true equity or equity and inclusion when it comes to economic empowerment. Was at my grasp using the Latino Chamber as a vehicle. And when I got here, it was just like any other chamber. We were doing networking events. We were doing, member-to-member services, and everything was fine. But you know, working in a congressional office and working in a space where I worked for the first African-American congressional member, a female in Wisconsin, it was very empowering in that space. You know, working for the first African-American woman congresswoman in the state of Wisconsin is not only history, but it really took me to another place with what I wanted to accomplish and how I want, and not only Latinos, but women to be seen in economic circles. And it's been a struggle. I mean, I'm sometimes the only Latina, sometimes the only woman of color, and sometimes I'm both. And to have a voice, I have to make a lot of noise. And to give Latinos a voice at the table, I always consider myself privileged because I am at the table, right? I have a position right now to create some form of rationalization, you know, when it comes to certain circles and how they feel about Latinos. And I always go in there really not just advocating for Latinos, but anyone who has a disadvantage. And so using that platform, we've created programming that really creates a space for authentic dialogue around economic equity and how economic equity works and looks, and the access of resources for not only those who have opportunities to start businesses, but those who have the dream, right? Those who are entrepreneurs in the making. We really concentrate as a chamber on low to moderate income families who want to start businesses. And when I started that journey, I was told that it wouldn't work. I was told that economic development is for people who have, you know, wealth and who have the economic stature to support a business. And it wasn't for those who were deemed, you know, dreamers, right? And so I thought otherwise. I always feel like, okay, well, let's show them, right? Let's figure this out. And it has only been through partnerships. And Madison is just the most amazing place to do this, because I've really got to meet wonderful people who want to empower others and feel like there are those, or see those inequities, right? So the Chamber has, since I joined, we started with 124 members, and as of Monday, we're at 500. And so, you know, we took a leap of 150 in the past 6 months because of COVID. People found that they needed more access to tools on how to you know, sustain their business models. We saw the need increase, you know, by 300%. We called on a lot of our banking partners and financial institutions to help our communities understand the information, like PPP and all that, right? But I think the most impactful thing that we've done is we've created a vehicle of education to create financial literacy programs that help. I always feel like when you're first generation, or you're someone who's lived in poverty and don't really have access to the tools to understand, you know, how to even open a bank account, then you're at a disadvantage generationally. And so my desire is, through this chamber, to create programs that will give access to anyone who's looking to, you know, to not only start a business, but to change their life by making those small steps and learning how to do so. So, you know, that's that's how I met Alex. I've met Winnie, like in that same circle, and Dr. Sagacist. I think we're all in that realm where we want to really impact the way that populations are seen, and also the access to, you know, the access to being at the table, the access to being able to develop wealth. And I'll tell you that, you know, I lived you know, my trajectory is, my mom was a single mom, sorry. And I saw poverty, I saw the projects, you know, there were a lot of stories you were sharing before. And if in our realm of privilege, if we're able to create access and create opportunity for the next generation, or those who are amongst us right now, I think that's the biggest impact that we can do as an organization. So the Chamber really right now is an economic equity organization that creates opportunity for new startups and existing business owners to develop wealth and scale. And you know, it's I think this is my life legacy. You know, I think after I leave the Chamber, I'm going to do something like, I always say, I'm going to be a mayor of a small town in Florida. But, you know, at this point, I think it is to create as many opportunities and as many successful human beings and families that can reach the American dream. And it's been quite a journey. It hasn't been the easiest, to be honest with you. And I have to learn a lot of things every day. So I always feel like, okay, I don't have to do this revolving loan fund. You know, let's figure this out, right? But you know, having great. What I love about this group is I have a great sisterhood of people who want to make sure that we succeed, or I succeed, and so I have this like arsenal of like powerful women who say, no, we're going to get it done. Let's figure it out. And that's been, I think, the reason that the Chamber is successful, because I have that arsenal and I have people I can talk to. And I just saw someone say the word authentically, in that authentic space that we all need to be able to thrive. So.
Jess, thanks so much for that. I think that's the first time that I've heard you share that the Latino Chamber really is an economic equity organization. And I think you need to update the website to reflect that, right? Period. You mentioned a couple other things related to your life's work and the legacy, and how for you are really working to touch the lives of so many people, so that they do have those opportunities and access and resources, and that you're preparing those from a generational perspective. And so that made me think about the work that Winnie is doing over in Madam, and all of these young minds that she has, and the staff over at Madam have been working with. And so Winnie, can you dive into and share, you know, a little bit more for those of us who may not be familiar with the work of Madam here within the Madison community, and how you are also connecting the dots for many of these young girls in this space of, hey, what you're learning in school when it comes to math and science and what you're learning here from a programmatic standpoint is going to pay some dividends. It's the show me the money. So can you talk about that in that space of what you and the team over at Madam are doing? And again, for everybody, she's not going to tell you this, but they have recently celebrated 5 years. And so I think that's also, we got to call that out. So everything that has been done within the course of the last 5 years.
Well, thank you so much, Alex. Yeah, so I'll say, well, I guess before I even dive into that, like, I'm so honored to be here and to be, you know, on this panel with Alex, Dr. Sagacist, Jessica. I feel like Jessica, both you and I lean at the same time because very true. We're like going in to start speaking. But yes, that's just love hearing the work that you're doing at the Chamber. So yeah, so at Madam, our mission is really to equip and engage girls and youth of color in rising 6th to 12th grade with opportunities in the technology sector. So what we do is we run immersive programs that are a combination of technical skills, mentorship, and exposure. And so practically, what does that look like? So in the summer, where majority of our programs are taking place, students are coming in, middle schoolers are with us 3 weeks all day, high schoolers 8 weeks half day. And through project-based learning, they're learning how to, and building their own websites, building their own mobile apps, building 3D models, right? And really having this connection between STEM and the things that matter to them. Because we're really trying to bridge those two things. I think one of the biggest things right now is that students, specifically students of color, don't have access to STEM opportunities. And really the conversation has predominantly always focused on, you know, who, you know, around STEM has really looked like your Mark Zuckerbergs, right? Like, even if I was to ask everyone in this Zoom, like, think about some tech leaders, who comes to mind? How do they look like, right? Are they white, male with a hoodie? Most likely that's that reference. And what we're really trying to do is to change that, and not just change it from language, but equip students with the skill sets that they are building the portfolio and saying like, yeah, no, I can do this, right? And that's the amazing magic that happens in our classes is students are building and writing code and they're like, oh my word, this worked. So that's really what we are doing here at Madam. And I think the work is really important in terms of racial equity. You know, previously, like, women used to represent about 38 to 40% of computer scientists. And right now, this year, it's about 20%, right, nationally. Yeah, and it's actually dropped in the past couple of years from 22 to 20%. And Blacks and Latinx represent only 3 to 4% of the national technical workforce. And so when you think about the fact that in Dane County, those wages are about, you know, 75, 80,000 a year for a job in math and computing. And if students don't have access to this in school, there's a really big gap. Right? So I was looking at some data from code.org that essentially showed that only 7% of Black students actually took the computer science AP test. And, you know, that's really stark. And when you're looking at it, then you're about like 15% for students who identify as Hispanic, according to their demographic sort of namifications or whatnot. And, you know, really, there's so much data around this. So McKinsey and Company came out with a report last year that say that by 2030, jobs that are currently held by Black women, 21% of those jobs are going to be displaced by 2030. Jobs that are held by those who are Hispanic, 25% of those jobs are going to be displaced due to automation, right? So it's really critical that we make sure that girls, youth of color, that they're getting access to these opportunities, and that they're having the experiences, the social capital, like the mentorship, getting into those spaces, having the internship experiences, because this is where everything is going, right? Like the jobs that were so easily able to go remote were in the tech field. And so I think that's a really critical part. And one thing that, you know, recently we actually, one of our one of our newest board members put together a blog post that was talking about the impact of computer science. And essentially, you know, he did some calculations with some labor market analytics, and it showed that if just 125 students who go through a Maiden program, and we're close to about, you know, 2,000 students who have gone through the program, but if just those 125 go on and get a post-secondary degree, end up in a STEM related job, right? They will, and if they stay in Wisconsin, that is a return of 13.25 million each year, right? That's 125 students.
Wow.
And that's powerful. And that's the thing. So what we're trying to do is really make those connections to these places where students, like when they're in classes and programming robots and building websites, and we're having these critical conversations around how race and gender play into, you know, the technology that we build, which we can talk about a little bit later. It's really critical. And they're starting to see what I'm finding to be fun and to be really cool. You mean this is what people are getting paid 50, 60, 70,000 a year to do? Yeah, I got this, right? And to equip the students with that place of, I got this, and not just enabling them to dream outside of their zip code, but to have the skill sets outside of the zip code, means that then we are actually redefining what are ambitions and what are dreams that we can have in certain zip codes, right? And we're removing that restriction. So that's really what we are, you know, what we're trying to do is make sure we're moving that needle in that space.
Winnie, thanks for dropping a couple of truth bombs on us in the space of the 21% and then the 25%, respectively speaking, to Black women and Latina women that by 2030 will be displaced due to automation. Mm-hmm. That is a very startling statistic for me, but I appreciate you also then enlightening us with the fact that if 125 students go through the program and then go on to complete the post-secondary degree, that's an ROI, a return on investment here to the community of Madison of 13.25 million. And so when we think about innovation and when we think about leaning into the disparities, but then also looking at things in a space of solutions, that gives me a little bit more hope. And so I want to transition over to Dr. Sagacist. You know, when I think about all the hats you wear, or maybe I should say all the different earrings that you and I wear, so much of the conversations you and I had, and I do want to still stay on this question and specific to the work that you are doing with infamous mothers, and specifically with women who have, and even in our own company, we've shared how it is harder for women who have left the workforce or those who have never been invited to apply or do not think that they have the credentials to apply because they might not have been in the workforce and have not necessarily gone the traditional realm, have been impacted. And so I would love if you would enlighten us all in the space of the work that you are doing and specifically how you are, you know, coming at it in terms of addressing those barriers that continue to keep Black women and Black women mothers from attaining their own opportunities to various access and resources as well, and especially from an innovation space.
Thank you. So I would like to just second and third Jessica and Winnie's words about being thankful to be a part of this collective and for this opportunity to be on this panel today. I'm very humbled and again, excited about being here. I think in order to talk a little bit about the work that I do currently, it makes sense if I quickly revisit where we came from, because we didn't come in, where we are today is not where we started in 2016 when we came on the scene. In 2016, I was in graduate school completing the PhD at the UW-Madison. And I noticed that the stories that were being told were not reflective of my own experience and my research on mothers and mothers that are shaking up the status quo, I noticed that whenever the literature on feminism and motherhood focused on women and Black women in particular, the conversation, and as innovators, the conversation often focused on women who were part of the LGBTQIA plus community. It focused on white women who were choosing alternative methods of birthing children. It focused on women who were feminists and who were fighting against the status quo. But in none of those narratives did I see women like me. And I'll get to that really quickly in a second. And at the same time that work was happening within feminism, we were also seeing the start of the Black Lives Matter movement. And in that movement, we were hearing about, this was right before, I can't remember his last name, forgive me, but they made a movie on him, Fruitvale Station. Oscar, can't think of his last name. But this was right after his death. This was a little bit after his death and right with Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown. And so the conversation about the importance of Black lives mattering was focused around Black men, but the people who started the movement were actually women. And so we were seeing them being absent, or their voices being absent, Black women's voices being absent from this movement. So you have these two things that are happening, and I'm seeing the erasure of women like me in these spaces that I'm supposed to have a right to be in, just by the nature of the movements themselves. And women like me being single mom, African-American, coming from poverty, 6 children, 4 different dads, but also pursuing a PhD. The narratives around women like me was that I was either the mom who was living on welfare, living in the projects, which that was me, right? So I am that woman. And or if I erase that part of my history, I am the strong Black woman who's pursuing this PhD. Never did the two ever come together. And I was particularly concerned about that because I was particularly concerned about expanding that narrative, because that means that there were a lot of resources that those women were being left outside of. For example, for me to apply for benefits, it was very difficult for me as a graduate student because I was this kind of hybrid person that didn't fit the qualifications that other people fit, right? So there were these very weird economic opportunities that I was struggling with because I didn't fit in either category. And so I wanted to kind of raise awareness about that. The other piece is I wanted to raise awareness about this particular population of women, because I found, one, that those women actually were represented many more women, right? There were more women who were actually coming from that more complex, robust background. And I wanted to expand the narrative because often when we tell the stories of these women, again, there's that either or dichotomy, and I wanted to offer something that was a little bit more complex than that. And so we started with the coffee table book. After we traveled and did the coffee table book and went on tour, the women were saying to us, we love that you're telling our stories. We feel empowered, but now what? Right? There was this phase of now what? Now that our stories are being told, we want tools, we want community, we want we want to grow economically. There are these demands that at the time I did not foresee. I was going to write this book, go on to become a professor, and go on with my life. And the work called me away from that and invited me to kind of solve this problem or build this community to help provide a solution. And so as time progressed, we became Infamous Mothers. We developed this mission, or went on this mission, to expand the face of leadership across all industries with the goal of helping 225,000 women across all industries take on leadership roles throughout the world. Since then, that number that go by, oh, and it was very specific time, by 11:59, April 23rd, 2027, right? So everything is my birthday. For me, it's the beginning of so many things, not just my life, but the life of so much of the work that I do. And as we started developing this, that was prior to COVID. Once COVID hit, we learned some things. We learned that when it comes to economic disparities, that our population, we knew this, our population is often hardest hit, but we never thought about the idea of a pandemic. I had never lived through a pandemic. And so we realized that our population does not only deal with financial difficulties, but during this pandemic, we started thinking about this word that was not part of our language before, part of our everyday language as a company, which was the idea of wealth. How do we help our women accumulate wealth? Because the pandemic really started making us think about the numbers that our women were more likely to be affected by this pandemic, even though we were more likely to thrive economically if we were to build some kind of company. Why do I say this? Research shows that when it comes to economic gaps, we often talk about the wage gap. But research also shows that in 2008, when the recession hit, Black women started building companies, and those companies ended up being sustainable, and they ended up becoming alternative incomes or replacing their former incomes as a result of lost jobs during a recession. And so for us, the work had to become about how do we increase wealth for the women that we serve, in addition to how do we increase health outcomes? Because what we also saw was that our women make it to the finish line and do extraordinary things with less resources, but they often make it to that finish line looking perfectly polished and finished, but inside the journey, what it has done to them. The struggle with microaggressions, dealing with racism, dealing with sexism. And so it plays out in the form of health disparities, diabetes, high blood pressure, et cetera, et cetera. And so our goal with one of our so we have a digital campus that we've built now called the Infamous Mothers digital campus, and we have 3 properties on it. But one of the goals of one of our properties is a co-working space called the Third Space, which is designed to help women achieve their financial entrepreneurial goals within a context that's designed to promote their overall health outcomes.
I have to unmute myself. Sorry, I have 2 microphones here. Dr. Sagacist, I'm so glad that you went there in the space, and I'm hoping you will provide a little bit more context to the Third Space as we dive a little bit further into those specific gender economic equity. That's where you were heading us to. And I want to point out that I've been doing some additional deep dive into some research and was recently looking at a Q2 2020 report by Closing the Women's Wealth Gap organization and then the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. I am going to quote the foundation. Women, and particularly women of color, they are significantly less likely to have access to wealth building opportunities. They are less likely to be eligible for employer-based health and retirement benefits due to the nature of their employment, or have access to tax incentives for savings and investment. Also, women are more likely to be the primary caregivers for children and or elderly parents, which impacts their careers and the ability to work and save. We know this, as many of you had also heard, we are mothers and we are aunties, and we are also members of the village. With women being the ones that are more likely to be carrying also higher levels of student debt, which thereby, right, that restricts us to build our own nest eggs as well as emergency funds and or to invest in homes and or businesses. I'm going to start with you, Dr. Sagacist. Can you dive a little bit further into the work that you are doing beyond just creating the Third Space, as well as empowering those women so that they can advance their economic equity and get closer to bridging the gender wealth gap?
Yes. So in the interest of time, because I'm looking at that we're 220, it's 227. Give me something very specific that you want me, because you know, when we're passionate about what we talk about, I could take you everywhere. Where exactly do you want us to go?
That's awesome. I wish you could just do it in light speed, right? Like if it's with Star Wars, we just go through and we cover everything in less than 2 minutes. I would say I would build out on the third space, and then also specific to the women Black women that you're working with, that as we've talked about, there is real concern in the space of how do I invest in myself, or I may be an entrepreneur, but stepping out onto that precipice of creating one's own business is very scary.
Sorry, you all. My phone is disconnected, but it's connected to my laptop. And it's
That's okay. It's like an interlude. That's like, all right, everybody, we're gonna take a 2-minute. Go run to the restroom, grab some more water or tea or whatever else.
And I don't know how to disconnect it. I've been trying for a couple of days. All right, so to answer that question, so the work that we do is we're going about it in several ways. I want to start with the health piece. I want to start with the health piece because one of the things that we noticed is, actually, let me not start with the health piece. Let me start with the narrative piece. One of the challenges we've faced throughout the work that we do is, as women, the women that we serve are phenomenal. They are the ones who will sacrifice. They are the ones who will show up first and leave last. They are the ones who will innovate and care for everyone around them. And they are the ones who get stuff done. The challenge our women face in the process of these things is two very important pieces right now. There are many pieces, but two that I would like to explore. One of those challenges that our women face is that while they are doing these extraordinary things, they're coming from a long history of narratives that have suggested that they're supposed to work all day. They're supposed to give their all. And there's something terribly wrong with them when they want more. So if they want a pay increase, if they want to earn, if they want to generate wealth, there's something that is unladylike, not womanly about them. They're leaving their service position, right? And so a lot of our work has been about mindset work. How do we help women expand the narrative and unlearn some of the things that they've learned that in many ways keeps us in a box, right? We feel guilty about wanting more, yet we find ourselves struggling economically. Women who are making $100,000 a year are still finding that they can't often cover the cost of their lives, not because they're living beyond their means, but the debt that they got into to be in a position to make $100,000 a year is something that they struggle with. So that's one thing. The other piece, so it's about the narrative shift. So as we design our wealth program, our financial series, before we even get into strategies, we've been doing a lot of work around mindsets. And that has been eye-opening, the things that we encounter. The other piece that we focused on is the outcome. So we want you to be where you want to be financially, but then a struggle that you face, as I mentioned before, is what's going to happen with you health-wise. So we have worked to build a culture that promotes healthy outcomes for the women that we serve. What we've discovered is that a lot of our women, and I started learning this when I was in a PhD program, you have these amazing professors who by the time they've gotten their tenure and have accomplished what they want to accomplish, they're too burnt out to be a healthy mentor to someone else. And they're angry and they're resentful and they're struggling with different health issues. And we found that in the same in the entrepreneurs community. And so we realized that from day one, we had to build a company that promoted healthy outcomes because we know the things that our women are up against, right? And we also learned that a lot of times that our women struggle with health is less because of their health choices, but more because of the work environments they're in. Their work environments are making them sick, right? And so we wanted to build a digital campus that promoted healthy outcomes for our women. I think the final piece to explore, because there are so many, is the trust gap that we're working to close. A lot of our women are seeking financial capital from credit unions, from other financial institutions. No, they could benefit from that capital, but they often don't go because bad news travels fast. I already know that I won't qualify. I already know that I'm not a good fit. I already know that women like me when we finally do get when our applications are approved, there are higher interest rates. So I'm going to bootstrap it. I'm going to bootstrap it. I'm going to bootstrap it. And often they don't have the funding to accomplish the thing that they are setting out to accomplish, right? And so it makes the struggle even harder. And so our goal is to build communities, build relationships with those financial institutions so that we can start closing that gap. And I know I said that was the final thing, but there is one more final thing. No, I'll leave it that. Because I want
to. What's the final thing?
In addition to the trust gap, in addition to wealth gap, in addition to the wage gap, I think it's also very, very important to understand why so many people are pursuing entrepreneurship as an alternative. I think what research is showing is that even though women of color in particular are thriving, they're showing up with more college degrees, they're innovators in what they do, the structures that they have been traditionally working in are not making space for them. And so entrepreneurship almost becomes something that's forced upon them, for one piece. And the other piece is people who are solving problems for these women are often not the women themselves. And so they, like myself, was in a position where they could move forward with a good job opportunity, yet they saw a solution that other people were solving for their community that was not of that community and didn't have the same understanding. And so necessity, but also the idea that the women are pursuing entrepreneurship as a way to solve problems is something that's often unexplored. And the idea that working within the institutions, even if the income is there, often the women who are in these spaces are saying, we have the income, but the environment is toxic for me, it's unhealthy for me, and it's not allowing me to expand in the way that I know I can expand. So I'm going to venture out and start my own. And I think that's also important because it shows that while the women are growing, often the institutions and the companies are not growing with them.
Absolutely. And you touch on a really good point in that space of inclusion. And when you do not feel as if you are welcome and you do not feel as if you are able to bring your authentic self and bring your full self, as well as the ideas, the innovation, all of that, right? You start to check out. And you look for those other opportunities elsewhere. You start to look for other individuals, and usually it's the tribe. And then asking the question of, well, how did you do this? You are successful. And I have to tell you, when I've talked to other women entrepreneurs, the question or the statement is, Alex, I didn't have a mentor. Alex, I didn't have resources. Alex, I was quilting. I was having to patch it together in a space, and I don't want my sister, or I don't want the person, generationally speaking, that's coming up. I got so excited, I knocked over my water, to have those same challenges. And so Jess, I saw your head shaking up and down in that space of going there. I mean, You and I have had a lot of these conversations in this space, and the work that you all are doing, especially for transforming systems and looking at policies and looking at things that really are getting, right? It's that upstream work of really looking at how can we do this in a space of closing that gender wealth gap. I'm gonna turn it over to you.
You know, Dr. Sagacist, I felt like she was like preaching at church, because I was like, yes, you know, that's the truth. The truth is that economic equity doesn't exist right now. It doesn't. I mean, and it's going to take, I was looking at Andrea, Jenny, Jennifer, and Susan, and I was like, you know what? You guys are the solution. We sometimes, what we're missing is that link in, right? That entry, the way to get into, you know, institutions. And sometimes it's just knowing people, right? It's like, you know, Andrea, I know you know people, so get me in there, because I have not been able to get in there. And so that's like, I'll tell you that I have one of my favorite board members. He's this Polish, like tall, you know, very, very square, you know, board member, you know, but he gets me in the doors. He'll knock on that door. He'll say, "Hi, my name is David Grunke," and then he uses his whiteness. I know it's gonna sound raw, but he uses his whiteness, and he says, "This is our executive director," and then I'm like, "I'm the president and CEO, excuse me," but he doesn't care. So he'll get me in the door, and these are doors that I've been knocking on for months. And I've been like, hey, you know, I would love to work with you. You know, I know you have like this workforce gap, and I have the people who can work with you. Let's develop a program to pipeline these individuals in. And I always say, and Dr. Sagacist, you know, she really like was on point with this, is I always use economic development and business development as a tool out of poverty. And I've used it in my personal life. And, you know, people, I always say when it goes up on like Forbes, it becomes really cute. And I'm not going to say cute. It becomes really like, now that's the thing, right? So like the gig economy, you know, communities of color have always had, you know, gig economies. We always have a side gig. We're always like side hustling. You know, my mom tried Tupperware, Mary Kay, Herbalife. I don't even know. She did all these things on the side because, you know, she had her 8-hour, 12-hour job, right? And then she needed some extra money because she wanted, you know, she used to sell pearls. And this lady would come home to our house and she would put her pearl display out, and all these women would come to our house, and she's like, Jessica, you make sure you treat those ladies and you serve them. And I felt like, you know, I was there serving juice or wine. I don't even know what if they were drinking at the time, but you know, that's how she made some money on the side. And then we forget that, and it becomes sexy when it's, and I'm not, you know, Winnie, I'm going to say, because, you know, now the whole, like, you know, now I'm going to work at home and do this, you know, I'm going to do coding. That is like, I think that's what we've been doing for all this, for like decades. We've been doing things at home, trying to get people to buy things and make some money. That, you know, I'm always talking, inclusion is that, recognizing that this has always been part of our economy and in our culture. And sometimes, you know, the fact that women are starting businesses, I'll tell you, we have an incubator program with 110 people that is graduating next week, and 60% of our participants are women. And they're women from all types of backgrounds and all kind of educational backgrounds as well. We have women who've only completed 4th grade in their native countries. And then we have doctors, right? We have women who you know, they're a psychologist or you know, I have one that's like a biochemist, but she's a biochemist in her country, and that doesn't transfer to the education system here. So she's kind of at a disadvantage. So she decided, and I always say, you know what? You know, you don't need to be credentialed here. You can be a consultant. Let's figure out how to do that, you know? And so all these women come in, and we teach them how to become consultants using their degree from their doctorate degree, whatever they earn in their home country, and just kind of modify the way that they would operate their businesses here. And so I always say, well, there's a will, there's a way. And I come from my grandmother. She had she, you know, for like 25 years, 30 years, she had a flea market stand and she would sell everything. Okay. And that was her, like, she would be the hustler. She would be out there with, if she could sell a can, she would sell it to you, you know, for $25, and she was so charming, she would make you buy it. Right. And so my whole thing right now, using the chamber as that like anchor for those ideas, is that everyone's idea is valuable, and everyone's commodity is their labor or their knowledge. And how do we turn that knowledge into a business, and how do we make that business flourish? The only caveat to that dream is the fact that the financial literacy part is still missing. And that's why I was looking at Susan, Andrea, Jenny, and Jennifer, right? Because I was like, you know, the way you do that is you collectively create how you as an individual can impact and help, you know, as a volunteer, as a mentor. I mean, we talked about mentorship, and I think we need that. We need more mentors. I need a mentor. I have mentors that look like they're all different shades and sizes. You know, I have mentors who keep me grounded spiritually. I have mentors that have propped me up, you know, in the world of economics, and I use them. And I think we all need those mentors. We need people like you to open doors, to introduce policies that really will create equity. I'll tell you that a couple of years ago, I couldn't open a bank account, right? Like I think I was in my late 20s. It was, you know, bad credit, bad decisions. And someone said, well, you know what, try Brewery Credit Union in Milwaukee. You know, they'll open a bank account. And then I went in there and they said, you know, and I shouldn't say just yesterday, because it was like 24 years ago, but they told me to go to Brewery Credit Union down in downtown, and this one lady said they'll open your bank account. And then when I got there, the lady explained to me, well, you're going to have a special bank account, and it's going to be this type of bank account, but not knowing that that bank account will then allow me to be bankable, you know, that will allow me to take a leap. And that now I'm able to open banks, you know, a bank at any, I'm always out for like credit cards, and that I can open bank accounts in any bank that I choose is really impactful. And I think that women of color need to have those resources. And sometimes you know, change doesn't come, you know, everyone here can create change. And sometimes change doesn't come in the way you think it should come. It could come in a way of programming, in the way of saying, okay, I know there's a population that's unbankable out there. How do I serve them? And how do I create a pipeline for them to actually, you know, understand the system? And how, and not just opening the bank account and seeing that they're bouncing checks every month, but how do I rectify that through mentorship? Through calling them and saying, Mr. Martinez, you know, is there something going on? And something I love about, you know, being Latina, and I would never change being a woman, is the fact that there are people out there that will do that. That will, you know, I've had those people who said, how can I help you? I know you're struggling right now. Is there something we can do? And I think that where I see financial institutions helping communities that are at a disadvantage is providing that type of programming, providing that income, that impact, providing them education. We started it's called Prosper program, right? It's a banking program through the chamber that I hope to, like, you know, I hope to introduce and be able to loan to low to moderate income business owners that need to learn or want to scale. Unfortunately, we have a lot of businesses that are peer-to-peer funded. And so, you know, they find money through their family members, they find you know, through the neighbor, and that's how they start their businesses. And you know, my goal and my hope is that is no more, right? That they can go to their banking institution, their, you know, credit union, and they can get that assistance to start that business and again, learn how to start a healthy business from the onset, instead of kind of going at it and then being in debt. Because a lot of our business owners are starting at a faster rate than, you know, Latinos are starting businesses at a really fast rate. But unfortunately, we don't talk about the failure rate, because it's at the same rate. So as fast as we're starting businesses, we're failing, but it's because there are a lot of things that we need to learn. And so with the chamber, I mean, we're all about impact training and impact, you know, workshops. And again, going back to Susan and Jenny and Jennifer, right? I want you guys to know that you guys can be impactful in that way, and that the circle here can have that impact on its communities by sheer, by, I think, just mentioning or advocating for inclusion. So that was my piece. I know it was really long, but I got excited at Dr. Sagacist and her conversation piece.
That's it. That's okay. Oftentimes I feel like us women, we get cut off more often than we would like to be. And so part of this panel, right, is making sure that your voices are heard and we listen to those voices, and that, again, you're giving us homework. It is inspiring us to act, and we all can play a role in this space. We are about 13 minutes to the hour, and I want to do a little bit of a toggle. I see a question in the chat feature, and I want to tie it into a question, Winnie, that I have for you. So Jess, as you were talking, and you were talking about that opportunity to really start to build your credit history and rebuild, I should say, your credit history, and to get on that path of savings and building your own wealth. When I think about us within the credit union space and CUNA Mutual Group, both of us being founded on that same principle of people helping people, it reminds me about the amount of good being done in our communities, whether it be on behalf or with credit unions or CUNA Mutual Group and its foundation. And I always say, like, it's hard to find another industry where our commitment is so long-standing, and it is one where it really is about helping others, and for us, it's walking alongside. And so, Winnie, would you help share with our audience a few examples of the good happening within MADAM and also with the girls? And I'm going to start there, and then I'm going to ask you an additional question, because somebody, Susan, had asked, why has there been such a drop in women computer scientists? Is it due to the pandemic, or is this just a recent trend, or has this really been on the decline for a while? So maybe you want to answer that question and then transition to stories of inspiration as well.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Susan, that is a fantastic question. So unfortunately, the drop of women in computer science has not been in relation to pandemic. It's actually been a trend. So back during World War I and World War II, women were hired as human calculators, right? So if you've seen the movie Hidden Figures, Katherine Johnson, essentially the military hired women, Black folks, people to do this work, and it wasn't men because it was considered like the low work, right? Like the dull work. So it was relegated to women, unfortunately, right? And so that's where women sort of at that time represented 38-40%. But then come in the 80s, a lot of the movies that were coming out around computer science were all, well, there was this trend, especially in the 80s, where when personal computers came into play, they were really focused on toys and games, right? And so it was very much marketed towards men and boys. And that's where then you had this trail of like this narrative that like tech is for boys and men. And that's where a lot of the movies show, the very awkward geek guy using technology and his computer skills to like win over some girl or something like that, right? So there was this huge sort of like explosion of focus of men and young boys as, folks in this space. And so that's really what's led to a lot of that trend change. Because if you don't see yourself in that space, but also if you don't see who you want to be or the things you matter about reflected, you're not going to want to be in that, right? Like that was my experience in tech, is that my first web development class that I took in high school, it was me and another female student, and then all the other students were male students. And it was really, I'm gonna be honest, it was kind of awkward. Also because there was this deep knowledge about computing that I didn't have, right? One of the big things that they talk about is that personal computers that ended up being placed, parents would buy computers for their sons. They would probably be in like their sons' rooms, right? So it was away from like females and from girls. So that's really what's led to, unfortunately, that trajectory. However, there is so much good. There is so much good. Alex had the pleasure of coming and meeting some of our girls and talking to them this summer. And may I just tell you, there is such amazing brilliance in our young girls. You know, we worked with one of the first girls in our program. You know, her and her sisters competed in a hackathon where they had built a website in 2 hours with the help of a developer, and they had never coded before, and they won first place. And the oldest sister, she's now at Williams College studying computer science as a sophomore, like as, you know, she's a TA as a sophomore in computer science at one of the best liberal arts colleges. My young girls are, I mean, I think, unfortunately, there's an underestimation of how much girls and young girls can soak in computer science, right, and engineering. And so you see the girls in the classroom like building and creating and being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this robot do this and this and this. And then when it gets to that end, it's gonna turn around and make this noise and light up on its way back, right? They're so confident. Our students have built websites around Katherine Johnson, around Dr. Gladys West, around all of these other female innovators. And it's amazing what I'd say me and my team were honored to do is to be in these rooms, you know, to create these environments where girls get to meet other girls who are excited about STEM together, and they build sisterhood, they build friendship. And it's amazing when, you know, one student has figured out how to make their CSS code you know, be a certain color, or their page be a certain color. And then there's another girl who needs help and they're like, I can help you, right? So seeing them just like really support one another has been something that's so critical and I think so pivotal. And right now, I think there's such a great momentum to make sure that girls are having access to this, and not just that, but really that connection about STEM and the things that matter to you. That's such a key focus. Even when I talk about, you know, our students programming robots and doing these other different things, they're not siloed from the fact that like social justice is an integral part of technology, right? Like AI bias, things like that. Like we have to talk about it. We have to be in those conversations, because it means that then you don't have tech products that are serving women or that are asking questions that men wouldn't be thinking about. And in this space, specifically white men, because they're predominantly who is in the building most of our technology. So that's what I will share. On our website, we have a number of student portfolios where you can see our what our students have built and created, their apps, their websites. But there's a lot of, I honestly see the next generation of engineers and computer scientists, like I see them stemming from not only like programs like MADAM, but I see them having gone and journeyed to this together, which is unique, right? So being able to create a space where girls can journey together in this is so exciting.
So I know we're coming up on the 3 o'clock hour, and Winnie, you just your final statement. You may want to say it again or incorporate it, but I have to be mindful of us closing it out. So when you think about this work and all the inspiration that you and the team have with these young girls, and awesome that 2 of the MADAM students won the hackathon and they are #crushing it. When we think about how you are reimagining an equitable future and world for all, what is that? Can you build on that last statement? You're muted. You're like me. You were muted.
Sorry, we're like 9 months in and that still happens. So Alex, you were saying building on the statement of students being the next generation. And
yeah.
And then your question was specifically around
was when we always like to talk about like the world, and like everybody on this panel has been asked the question of like, how would you solve racism? And so I'm going to ask a different question in the space related to reimagining an equitable future and a world for all. What does that look like when you think about what you and the team are building and the girls are building in the space of reimagining, and taking all those components of understanding what's been happening in 2020 and also what we know we don't want to see as we transition into 2021. And as Jessica and Dr. Sagacist had also shared, the responsibility and also the place that we all have in this reimagination, if you will.
Yeah, so that's a big question. And what I would say
60 seconds, you know, you can solve it, right? It's like coding.
Yeah. So what I would say, how I would reimagine this world and what I would see is really a space in which we build, in which technology is built in a way that cares for all and centers all. And it's built by and for all people, right? And I think what I mean there is if we build technology, if our technology actually cares for everybody, then that means that we're able to solve problems quickly. That means that we're actually able to eliminate things that could be problems, but no longer become problems because we've thought about them. And may I just say that that is a power that women have, because they think about things differently and they think about things in a multifaceted approach, I would say, in a unique way. So that's how I would, that's kind of the world that I would say, that's how I would reimagine that space. I think what that means to me is that it ends up creating an environment in which we can use technology to move forward the good, to help address and to propel education around financial literacy much more quickly, right? To use technology and AI to help women better identify where, you know, stress is coming into play and is affecting entrepreneurship, right? Like we're actually able to bring in what is good about technology and help us move forward and use AI and things like that in that kind of way. So, yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Dr. Sagacist, you were nodding your head when Winnie was talking about building tech that cares and centers all, and it's built by all and it's for all. Yes,
I was nodding my head because I think a lot of times we think technology is objective and we think that it's, and as someone whose company is tech focused, I understand.
Oh no, you're muted.
Oh, even our search engines are biased, right? And so I was very excited to hear when he talked about compassionate. Muted again, jeez.
Yeah.
I was very excited to hear when he talked about compassionate tech and tech for all, and the idea that women are capable and that we're well suited to make that happen. That was very inspiring for me.
Awesome. And then Jess, AKA Alex Shade, what and how are you reimagining that equitable future and world for all?
I'm sorry, Marie, I'm having like issues.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm glad you could.
And then my camera keeps falling, but you know, the future for equity and women, I would love to see more women on boards. I would like to see more women making policy decisions. I would like more women to be pipelined into positions where they can really make an impact for the greater good of the community. I think as women, we're so intuitive and really wanting to make an impact. I think we treat our households, but our careers and everything around us it's personal, right? And so, you know, I advocate and I advocate all the time. I always call myself a feminist, and that's a new term because I had a hard time kind of dealing with that term a long time ago. But now I'm like, yes, I'm a feminist because I believe that we're still at a disadvantage, and and now my camera's on, but we're still at a disadvantage, and we need to, really together figure out how to pipeline women to more positions of power. And so how does equity look? I would love to see more of the Winnies and the Sagacious, ruling the world. So that's my goal, but also creating opportunities for women to develop wealth and to not have so many worries every day. Child care, whether, she's going to have someone to support her or not. I would love women to see their worth and figure out how to make it on their own. And I'm talking for myself. So that's where I think we all can hang together and figure that out as a coalition.
Awesome. Well, I know that we are 2 minutes after the 3 o'clock hour, but I just want to say that it has been an honor. It's been a privilege to kick off part 1. Remember, audience, I said there was a bit of a surprise at the start of this, is that we knew that we would not be able to really go where we wanted to go in this space within really 55 minutes. And with the kindness and the graciousness of both Lena and our panelists, they've agreed to come back in 2021 so that we can have a part 2 to continue the conversation around the women wealth gap, specifically some of the other challenges that we face as Black and Brown and other underrepresented groups and individuals. And so, as you heard, each person has provided each of us with various wisdom and insight and knowledge in such a candid, raw, authentic space that they gave us some calls to action as to we can be a part of changing the systems. We can be a part of addressing these issues and calling out the racial disparities so that we can envision that world of the future. But it does take centering Blackness and Brownness and valuing each person's unique contribution and humanity. So remember, as a reminder, the Global Women's Leadership Network's mission is to provide women with the opportunity and resources to make a measurable difference in the lives of one another and in the lives of the credit union members and our communities. We are that community. Yes. We are that community. And so again, many thanks to Dr. Sagacious, to Jessica, and to Winnie, and to those of you who joined in today. We do hope that you are walking away with a little bit more information on this topic. And also, if there are other people that you know should watch this, remember the recording will be made available. Lena and the team will make sure that it is posted. And I do want to wish everyone a happy holidays. We look forward to seeing you in 2021. And please continue to stay safe and protect your own health and wellness.
Thank you. I'm going to, yes, a round of applause. We should all unmute our mics and say thank you to our panelists. I'm sad that I have a lot of questions and I have to wait to 2021, which kind of royally sucks, okay? If I could say that. But truly, I think the most important thing is for us to be well, first and foremost ourselves, so we can continue to do that for all the people around us that we choose to help and assist and take care of. Sincerest wishes from us too, also for safe and happy holidays to the panelists and everyone on the call. Thank you for joining us. Yes, we're going to put the recording on in a few days on the YouTube page. And yes, there will be a part 2 because there's a lot to discuss. And next time I won't speak and we'll go right into an hour and a half. And we'll cover more territory, Alex. So thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Dr. Sagacious and Winnie. And I look forward to continuing collaboration even further. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be well.